Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to the Huddle Up Podcast. I am your host, Taylor Sharp, and on this podcast, we talk all things related to NFL football, and that's the fun thing about sports, right? Comparisons. Everybody likes to compare an athlete to a former athlete. Who's the greatest? And there's been a big discussion on the greatest of all time, and it's something I want to get into right now. Okay, so obviously Super Bowl 59 just wrapped up, and if you watched it like I did, well, you were a little bit surprised, a lot like I was. Not saying I didn't think the Eagles had a shot in this game. I did pick the Kansas City Chiefs because of the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid factors, but I thought there was a chance Philly could win this game. I did not think the game was going to be 40-6 Eagles in the fourth quarter of that football game. They wind up winning 40-22. The Chiefs had a couple garbage time touchdowns that I'm not even worried about. As far as I'm concerned, this was utter domination from start to finish by the Philadelphia Eagles. But you've heard about that, right? We all know about the Super Bowl. That's not really what I want to talk about right now. What I want to talk about right now is the greatest of all time debate, of course, between Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Guys, I'm here to say that we need to stop this comparison because there is no comparison. Patrick Mahomes has 3 Super Bowl wins. He's 3-2 in the Super Bowl. We all know that, right? He's been great. I'm here to tell you that Patrick Mahomes will never be Tom Brady. When Patrick Mahomes retires from the NFL, barring something unforeseen happening, he's going to be a top 5 quarterback of all time. That's nothing to turn your nose up at. There is no shame in that. Patrick Mahomes will never be Tom Brady for this reason alone. You could say, okay, well, that's a knee-jerk reaction. He gets blown out in the Super Bowl. Everyone's saying that, oh, you know, it's a hoax. He's not actually as good as everyone says he is. He has 2 losses in the Super Bowl. 40-22, which, let's be honest, it was 40-6. Those last 2 touchdowns, the Eagles had their backup defense in anyways. Whatever. He gets blown out 40-22. He got blown out in another Super Bowl at the hands of 43-year-old Tom Brady, 31-9. Sure. You could say, okay, well, you're only highlighting the losses. What about the wins? Let's look at the wins. He beat Jimmy Garoppolo, who's no longer a starting quarterback in the National Football League. He beat Jalen Hurts, who was in his first Super Bowl, who actually just got revenge on him and honestly outplayed Patrick Mahomes in that first Super Bowl. Sure, Jalen had the big-time fumble, which ultimately helped Kansas City win that game, but Jalen Hurts was more in control in that football game, and top to bottom, he played better. Mahomes had 3 touchdowns, no picks in that game, which we'll get to his turnovers here in the Super Bowl in just a minute. But he only had 182 yards passing. They actually did not ask Patrick Mahomes to do a whole lot in that football game. So you beat Jimmy Garoppolo, who's no longer a starting quarterback in the NFL. You beat Jalen Hurts, who is a first-time Super Bowl starter. And you beat Brock Purdy, a 7th-round quarterback who was also playing in his first Super Bowl. And again, another game that I think the 49ers should have won. Those are his wins. Who did Tom Brady beat in the Super Bowl? Future Hall of Famer Matt Ryan. Current Hall of Famer Kurt Warner, who was just coming off of a Super Bowl win of his own with the greatest show on turf. That was Tom Brady's first ever Super Bowl that he played in. He beat Russell Wilson, future Hall of Famer. You get my point, right? Not only does Tom Brady have more Super Bowl wins, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is ever going to get 7. He also did it against a lot tougher of competition. Let's look at what Patrick Mahomes has done in the Super Bowl, win or loss. Mahomes has played in 5 Super Bowls. He's 3-2. 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions already. 7 interceptions in just 5 Super Bowls. Tom Brady played in 10 Super Bowls. Only 6 interceptions total. 21 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. So he's more than doubled Mahomes' touchdown total, and he already has less turnovers in double the amount of games. Now, I hear it, okay? Well, let's make excuses. Oh, Patrick Mahomes threw for 254 yards. He had 3 touchdowns. He had 2 really bad turnovers in the first half of that game, and those last 2 touchdowns were garbage time. The Eagles had their backup defense in, whatever. He had less than 30 yards passing at halftime. When the game really mattered, Patrick Mahomes looked awful. It was one of the worst quarterback performances I've seen in the Super Bowl, and I watched Cam Newton against the Denver Broncos. The excuses are coming out already, though. Well, you know, Travis Kelce's older. Travis Kelce was old before that game started. Travis Kelce was getting older at the beginning of the season when they were winning all those games. Oh, you know, he only had 3.2 seconds to throw the ball. You can't blame it on him. We're going to blame the offensive line for the 6 sacks. Tom Brady lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, but he set a record for the most passing yards in Super Bowl history with over 500. Tom Brady, 2.26 yards per pass attempt. He had way less yards than Patrick Mahomes. Didn't matter. How about the 28-3 game? That's another thing. Let's get into the 28-3 game with Tom Brady. Tom Brady's never out of a game, right? You never think a lead is too big. Did anyone realistically think when the Philadelphia Eagles went up 24-0 that Patrick Mahomes was going to lead the Kansas City Chiefs back? I sure as hell didn't. And the first drive of the second half really told you everything you needed to know, right? Because Philly got the ball first. They're up 24-0, but let's give the ball to the Kansas City Chiefs to start the second half. They get a first down, and you're like, okay, let's go, because they only had one first down the entire first half. Didn't even cross midfield until about 3 minutes to go in the third quarter when Mahomes hit Xavier Worthy on that 51-yarder down the sidelines. But back to the first drive of the second half. They get the ball, they get a first down, he hits Xavier Worthy. Then back-to-back sacks on first down, second down, throws an awful pass on third down. They have to punt the ball once again. At that moment, that was the end of the ballgame. Because you're like, okay, Patrick Mahomes still doesn't look right. Philly is still attacking on defense. That's the end of the game. And ultimately, that is what happened. When Tom Brady had the 28-3 lead, you knew no lead was safe. Or when Tom Brady was down 28-3, I should say. I didn't feel that way about Patrick Mahomes the entire game. Also, in that game, Tom Brady came back and won 2.4 seconds to throw the football. How about when he played the Legion of Boom, took them down in the Super Bowl, scored 28 points, which was the most points that defense had given up all season long. He only had 2.24 seconds to throw the football. So my point is, stop making excuses for Patrick Mahomes. Is Patrick Mahomes great? Absolutely, without question, the best quarterback in the NFL. Is Patrick Mahomes overrated? Yeah, a little bit. In terms of all-time greatness, he could get there. He's not there yet. So until further notice, let's end this discussion of who's the greatest quarterback of all time between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, because at this point, you're just kind of making Patrick Mahomes look bad. There is no debate. There is no discussion. There is no argument. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback and, in my opinion, the greatest football player to ever step foot on a football field. 7 Super Bowl wins, 10 Super Bowl appearances, 21-6 touchdown to interception ratio in those Super Bowls. He beat Hall of Famer Matt Ryan, Hall of Famer Russell Wilson, Hall of Famer Kurt Warner. We can go on and on. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. I personally don't ever think that will change, but it certainly has not changed now. Patrick Mahomes is going to have to do a hell of a lot more to get back into this conversation. All right, look, that's going to do it for today's episode. A little bit of a spicier one, right? We like to get fired up here every now and then. I didn't want to do just your traditional, oh, well, here's your Super Bowl recap. Wanted to kind of mix it up a little bit. This has been a hot topic of conversation really all week long. Kind of wanted to just give you my thoughts on where I stand on the Brady versus Mahomes debate, which, again, I don't think it is much of a debate. Look, if you enjoyed the content, you want to know more, like, comment, subscribe, whatever you can. I love to interact with you guys, and I'll see you next time on the Huddle Up Podcast.